The benevolent being. It's just funny that a guy that's associated with saturated fat wrote a book called Benevolent Being. It's out of print. It was published in 1967. He and his wife wrote it. She's actually listed first, Margaret and Ancel Keys. It's not a vegan book. It's not plant-based. It's just about beans or adding more legumes to our diet. The recipes in the book are interesting because they're just so simple. It shows how much our cuisine has changed, our recipes and our expectations for what food and dishes should taste like from the 1960s. Because some of the recipes are only 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients. So Ancel Keys noticed in his travels that the people in the southern Mediterranean lived long, healthy lives, more centenarians around there than about anywhere. And he observed what they eat in their diet. It's what we know now as the Mediterranean diet. And he became a big proponent of the Mediterranean diet. And that is reducing your consumption of the red meats, using the olive oil, the unsaturated fats, sparingly, and then lots of fruits and vegetables, lots of fresh food, virtually no processed foods, and maybe a little bit of fish. That was what he recommended for a diet or a lifestyle, if you will, of reducing the incidence of cardiovascular disease, which was becoming to be pretty rampant back in the 50s and 60s. He strongly believed in more legumes in the diet, whether that's peas or beans or lentils or chickpeas, just more legumes in your diet. That was a part of the Mediterranean diet. His name comes up a lot because people attribute all the ills of our obesity and type 2 diabetes today to his insistence, based on research, that saturated fat leads to coronary heart disease or cardiovascular disease. Over the years, it's become proven through studies that saturated fat, high intakes of saturated fat, leads to cardiovascular disease and coronary heart disease. People want to deny it. They want to refute it. They want to argue with it. They want to say that the unsaturated oils that the food industry moved to replace saturated fats, and then they put even more unsaturated fats into our processed foods, that the elimination of the saturated fat is the cause of our type 2 diabetes, our metabolic syndrome, chronic diseases that we suffer from today. But the fact is, they just added more fat. Even though it was unsaturated, they added more fat, and they also added more sugar. The thing that I find interesting is legumes are a miracle. Here's this plant through a symbiotic relationship with bacteria. The bacteria can take atmospheric nitrogen and fix that into nitrates that the plants can use. They trade some sugars. The plant gives the bacteria sugar. The bacteria gives the plant the nitrogen that it uses to make proteins. And legumes are a great source of protein. And also, not all the plant doesn't use all that nitrogen that the bacteria has fixed in those nodules of the roots. Some of it's left to decompose in the soil for next year's crop. So legumes actually build the soil. They're a miracle. They're a gift. Developing ways of eating, whether through recipes or just your lifestyle, whether you choose plant-based or vegan or flexitarian or whatever, just eat more plants. It's going to be better for yourself, better for the environment, and better for animals. So it was a fun book to read. The author is what caught my attention, but it's fun. It's a nice little book. If you can find it, it's worth a read.